are all inherently anti-capitalist policies. They are policies that impact capital, harm the profit motive at the behest of improving social welfare. His popularity speaks for itself. Holy, that is so crazy. Anyway, let's get back to AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said several times, no matter if you disagree with me on a whole host of issues, if you are willing to fight for working class voters, then you belong here. And that really flies in the face of how the left is often characterized as dogmatic and not pragmatic. But that is not what we are seeing here. Senator Sanders says that he understands
the
that
left always
both parties are
characterizes that?
captured by big moneyed interests. And this is a real effort, regardless of ideology, to call back the working class and bring them into coalition.
This isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. We, as a community, must choose and vote for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class.
And so, Jake, you heard the Congresswoman there. She didn't spare her own party, even though she didn't mention Senator Schumer by name. This is just one stop over the next several days that they will make. And I'll end with this. There is clearly an appetite for this message. It's unclear if they are peeling off some of the conservative voters that may have voted for Trump. That is certainly the goal here. But the Democratic establishment cannot afford to ignore this energy center of the party. There may be some that try to dismiss this, but they have a lot of enthusiasm here on the ground.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
She gets it. That CNN journalist gets it. No, that's the point. No, that is the goal. And I think that a lot of people who have been yelling at me for the past day also don't understand it either. While I am also feeling as though there's a lot more room for directing this mobilization from both AOC and Bernie Sanders in this tour that they're doing. And it's not just about like talking about how shitty everything is and then leaving people directionless, leaving people rudderless. And I talked extensively about how to fix that. I think doing something similar to what Zoran's been doing in New York in the mayoral race is a much more solid approach here. But like mobilizing this support, this base of support towards individual causes where you can protest and agitate is a way to not only draw home the message, but it's also a way for you to be able to, it's also a way for Bernie and AOC to be able to basically show that this message is effective and can lead to tangible change. Okay? It's not just about like screaming tax the rich. It's about going like, it's not about saying, we're not going to give another dollar to Israel. It's about going to and doing a rally outside of the courthouse where where Mahmoud Khalil has a deportation proceeding. Like, it's about facilitating real change. It's about using the momentum and using the popularity towards singular issues of harm in a way to possibly make change with this direct demonstration of support. I think this is the type of stuff that they could be doing, and I wish that they would do more of that. But I think right now, the goal here seemingly is to show the Democratic Party that there is still a lot of momentum behind Bernie's left populist politics. Now, will they listen? I don't think so. Is it a foolhardy endeavor if it stays in this, if it just simply is just doing rallies over and over again? Yes. That's why I'm saying I think it would be better served if there were direct organizing initiatives associated with this, instead of just saying, join community organizations, work with the community organizations, and get people to support said community organizations at your rallies, for example. That, I think, is a better usage of the time and space that they have right now and the place that they're occupying right now, beyond simply just saying the Democratic Party needs to see the popular momentum behind Bernie's politics and reshape their message. Although I do think that, to a certain degree, Bernie has been able to make a lot of these ideas that were not even considered in mainstream media significantly more palatable.
Wages that Democrats would do a lot better with voters if they looked less like diplomats searching for a compromise and looked more like prize fighters for the working class.
This isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us too. But what that means is that we, as a community, must choose and vote for Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class. I want you to look at every level of office around and support brawlers who fight, because those are the ones who can actually win against Republicans. Let's be real about that.
Brawlers. I assume you approve this message.
100%, absolutely. Democrats are in a crisis right now. They're on life support. They have a testicular fortitude problem. They are not fighting nearly as hard as they need to fight for the American people, as was seen last week during this CR vote in the Senate. It's a problem. And for me, it's not about the parties, because the parties are going to kind of do their thing. It's about the people rising up and holding the parties accountable. Democrats have fighters. Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, the whole squad, Greg Casar, Pramila Jayapal, and governors and mayors across the country are fighters. But we need some of the OGs in the party to elevate, uplift the younger people,
or do they
and
need
take a
to,
step
do
back.
they need to step aside?
Or step aside, because we need to hear new, fresh, bold voices. That's what the American people want. And if the party doesn't do that, the party is about to be finished.
I hope that AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Greg Casar, I hope they're the new face of the Democratic Party, because Republicans will be winning elections all over the country if that is the face of the Democratic Party. Are you?
I mean, y'all
listen, a district like mine that Joe Biden won by 10 points, okay, 10 points. Kamala Harris won by half a point. Okay, I won by 6.5 points, 24,000 votes in a district that has 85,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Why?
And you're right.
Because the
Democrats, but you ran against a cornball candidate.
He was your friend.
He was not my friend.
He was your friend.
You had someone running against you who was not a strong candidate, and we still
we agree on.
We still have consultants and big money controlling the Democratic Party, compromising it.
Outperform Kamala Harris in her district. Trump did better than.
But here's my point. The New York, look no further than New York, where issues like cashless bail have been a disaster, issues like sanctuary state status, congestion pricing. In districts like mine, where Democrats on paper should win big, they're losing. And so if the messenger is AOC, who, by the way, was originally from my district, she grew up in Yorktown, not the Bronx. If AOC is the face of the Democratic Party in swing districts all across this country, she will mobilize voters way more than Nancy Pelosi ever did.
Let me just add
the thing that this man is refusing to recognize, because he's a moron, is Bernie Sanders. For one reason or another, Bernie Sanders is seen as an authentic figure in ways that AOC is not by swing voters. AOC has a lot of national prominence, but unfortunately, alongside that national prominence, she has a lot of haters as well. Bernie, on the other hand, seemingly, while advocating for quite similar opinions on issues, is seen as a much more powerful and much more popular figure. And no, I don't think it's because of, no, I don't think it's entirely due to AOC being a woman and Bernie being a white man. No, I don't think it's just that. Although that certainly factors into the equation, of course. The notion that, like, if the entirety of the Democratic Party across the board were Bernie style figures, the Republicans would never even have a single fucking election that they win ever again. If the entirety of the Democratic Party resembled Bernie style politics and actively pushed for it and voted for it and demonstrated real change at the legislative level, there would never be another Republican election won. Nah, that's cope, to be honest. It absolutely is not cope. What are you talking about? We have a Bernie-style leadership historically in the Democratic Party that led to basically half of a century of Democratic Party dominance. What are you talking about? We still eat off of the advancements made under FDR. New Deal Democrats shaped the first half of the last 100 years, and the Reaganite neoliberalism has shaped American politics for the last half of the 100 years. When Democrats were dominant, Republicans would be forced to follow suit, would be getting their notes from the Democrats. The agenda was shaped by moving the needle in the direction of progress. And a lot of American prosperity took place as a consequence of that. And then the Republicans basically turned everything around. I would say Carter kickstarted that process fairly aggressively. And foreign policy played a major role in this as well. But Carter's neoliberalism made way for Ronald Reagan to stab the country in the heart. You're overlooking a century of Red Scare propaganda? Sure. That plays a role in this. But let me tell you, Americans who can be convinced on idiotic things such as concentration camps at the border will magically solve your cost of living crisis can also be convinced that anti-capitalist policies will truly solve the cost of living crisis if advocated for aggressively, earnestly. Bernie Sanders is unironically a living, breathing example of this. On the global stage, he does not carry himself nor present himself as a radical socialist or a Marxist-Leninist or anything like that, and he's not. But the policies that he's always firmly held committed to are all inherently anti-capitalist policies. They are policies that impact capital, harm the profit motive at the behest of improving social welfare. His popularity speaks for itself. That's it. So you don't even have to present yourself as a Marxist-Leninist because obviously, yes, Red Scare propaganda is incredibly powerful. America has a genuine force in terms of anti-communism that is irreconcilable. There is no way of dealing with that. But one example I will present to you is the accidental good policy that even the Kamala camp advocated for, which was price controls. She presented it in a way that liberals could also associate positively with. And that was her most successful policy because Americans don't give a fuck. When you say, I'm going to bring these prices down no matter what, they don't care. They're like, hell yes, I want that shit. I want it now. I want it bad. Please give it to me. I don't care what you do. That's why I used to joke and say, like, if she literally went on stage and was like, I'm going to I am going to present to you a unique opportunity to make prices 10% cheaper across the board. And the only way to do that is by fucking, putting the Walton family in permanent prison or maybe even capital punishment towards them. Americans will be on board with it. You'd be scared of how excited Americans will be at that because they just want solutions. It's not that fucking hard. That's it. They just want solutions, man. The Democrats won't even broach that subject matter, unfortunately.
The counterpoint within the Democratic Party to what AOC is saying from, this is Elisa Slotkin. She gave the Democratic response to the State of the Union address much more of a moderate voice in the party. Listen.
I can't just chain myself to the White House and become an activist full time because you and others here are going to call me for things that you need. All of those things require me to be more than just an AOC. I can't do what she does because we live in a purple state.
Oh my, shut up.
And I'm a pragmatist. I got to save things for my people.
See,
things are getting messy.
Come on,
there.
son.
It's getting very messy.
That's white flag energy right there.
Names are
that's
being
white flag
put on the table.
energy right there.
No, I think she's right.
What do you mean you think she's right? First of all, even choosing her to give the response to Governor Trump.
That's your party.
Governor Trump. I should call him Governor Trump.
That's
President Trump is a problem.
You should be the chairman, by the way.
The advice you gave
All right, let me let Joe finish.
Go ahead, brother.
She is right in the sense that it's easy to throw grenades. You can be AOC and throw grenades all day in a safe district.
Republican running for Republican in office, Mike Lawler, sitting across from former Republican leader in the New York City Council, talking to fucking Jamal Bowman. Like, what is happening here? Why is the market so flooded with Matt Iglesias prototypes? Yeah, man, I think I don't want to hear from you as a New York Republican. I think your word doesn't mean anything about the fucking future of the Democratic Party. Like, why would anybody listen to you? Except that's all the Democrats listen to. That's why they keep losing.
District not have to account for anything. There's a huge delta between the hype of AOC and the accomplishments of AOC. And frankly, if you look at that tour she was just on with Bernie Sanders, right? It was called the Fighting Oligarchy Tour, right? They essentially traveled the country and spoke to an echo chamber of people who already agree with them. How is she and Bernie Sanders, with their message, going to attract people in swing districts
I
by the
guess
Fighting
what I wonder
Oligarchy Tour?
is maybe what they're looking at is actually...
I'm scared of AOC.
Dog, they're going to swing districts. Like, they were in Nevada. What are you talking about? The entire point of the Fighting Oligarchy Tour is to go to swing districts. Every place that they go to is a fucking swing district, dumbass. Sometimes directly right-wing areas. Why would you ever listen to this guy, man? Is it because you accidentally thought he was Matt Iglesias? And that's the only guy you respond to?
I welcome her to
There
my
are Democrats I'm scared of. There are Democrats
Maybe
I'm
what
scared
they're
of, not
looking
her.
at, Joe, is what the Republicans did, which is all of the guys who stood around screaming in Congress and not passing any legislation, those folks are in power now. They won at the end of the day.
I think that this is where I will actually agree with you. I do think that there is a difference between Bernie Sanders and AOC going and talking to our base, and a difference between the senator who was just elected, has to show results for her state, has to, in a swing state, a battleground state, and she has to deliver something, versus AOC and Bernie are just, they're talking about the base. I will say, I was at the DNC in 2017 after almost this exact same situation. Bernie Sanders asked Chuck Schumer, let me go out and talk to our base. This is exactly what he did in 2016. This is 2017. This is deja vu. You know what happened with Nancy Pelosi? Everybody was asking for her to resign. You know what she did? She embraced the new generation of the Democratic Party, lifted them up, and said, you know what? I'm going to step aside after the midterm elections, and I'm going to lift everybody else up.
And that's why she worked to block AOC from becoming
We've done this before. We can do that again.
That also happened.
The tens of millions of people who are staying home, they're staying home because we're not elevating new voices in the Democratic Party.
No, you're not. Your
Those
chairs
people
are
mobilized.
I think
on
to
financial
Congressman Lawler's
services.
point, this is not just a Chuck Schumer thing. I think it's happening pretty broadly among some of the older contingent in the Democratic Party.
God damn, dude. Holy shit.